We are so excited to have you with us tonight for Tzedek's 2023 Dinner Gala. And now, please join us in greeting to the stage the Honorable Karen Bass, Mayor of Los Angeles.
Thank you each for your dedication and congratulations on this well-deserved honor. This is a room filled with people who care deeply about justice, and that's how I know that you all agree that it is inhumane, the idea that in Los Angeles today and tonight we will have 47,000 people sleeping on our streets. So I just think about the theme of my administration, which is to lock arms. We lock arms with every level of government. And I do want to acknowledge our city attorney who is here with us today. Please stand up, Heidi Felsting Soto. And I want you to know about her because the two of us have absolutely locked arms to deal with the issue of homelessness. For years, you had the city and the county pointing at each other, and I know that our supervisor is on her way, Lindsay Horvat, but we have been working hand in hand. Oh, there she is, the mighty Lindsay, next to the mighty Heidi. Well, the city and the county have locked arms, and we've also locked arms with the Biden administration and with our governor, because frankly, it is going to take all of us on every level of government and all Angelenos to bring our neighbors that are outside in. And I just want to say in closing that I look forward to continuing to work with Tzedek. There is something that all of us in this room can play and contribute to solving this crisis. I also want to acknowledge our former city attorney, who I know is here, Mike Fuhr, dear friend, worked with for many years. I think we'll be seeing him elsewhere pretty soon. But again, I just want to congratulate Tzedek on 49 years, and I look forward to being here next year to celebrate half a century of incredible contributions to Los Angeles. Thank you so much.
Older Angelenos are facing economic, food, and health insecurity.
A very common case that we see involves an elder who lives with, let's say, a grandson, and the grandson might make the grandmother feel like she's in danger.
People get evicted. People give their Social Security or pension or disability to their family members, and then their family members don't buy them enough food or medication.
When I first started at Tzedek, our program was sort of limited to conservatorships and public benefits, Medi-Cal, and home supportive services. And just as time went on, people started coming with more elder abuse issues, right? Self-neglect or financial elder abuse, and we had to change our services. So we ended up doing a elder abuse restraining order clinic.
In the clinic model, we can spend 3 hours with a person and provide them with materials so that they can represent themselves.
Dominique is determined to make sure that the service is a final solution. So take, for example, the remedy that elder abuse dependent adult restraining orders can offer. I think she found that what now? What now for the older adult? How do we ensure their continued protection, their continued ability to thrive?
We'd get cases where, let's say, husband was being scammed. The first step would be, let's go get a conservatorship so that, the well spouse can manage the finances. And then, once all the finances were in order, I'd say okay, well, it'd be so nice if we could help this couple with estate planning.
I wish I knew what verse that was where Tzedek was in the Bible. Oh, let me find it. My name is Wallstein Walker. I have 7 children. Well, I guess I should say I did have a husband first. I have a husband, and we were married 63 years. And we got our first home, I believe, in 57, near the Crenshaw district, I said first home, bought our only home. Back in the 50s, we got it for $14,700. Need I tell you more?
Mrs. Walker receives Medi-Cal and SSI, and 3 of the kids are disabled. I mean, now that her house is worth so much money, she really wanted her kids to benefit from it.
How you doing, my dear?
From the first time that I talked to Dominique, if I'd asked her a question and I didn't understand it, she would take her time. She never once got upset with me. You know, some people, they don't tell you they're upset, but you hear it.
We worked on her estate plan, and we had to make sure her disabled kids would not get kicked off their benefits once they got an inheritance.
For a long time, estate planning has been connected with wealth planning, and that is not the case. Being able to provide estate planning services allows the families to create generational wealth, make a change in the equity that is in our local communities.
Frida, come here. Will you do work with me? I feel like I'd be a wreck without the pro bono partners. MSK and Alan and Leah specifically, they've helped us develop our whole estate planning program. All of our templates, what we should be doing, what we should be looking for.
Both with Dominique and Anna Dar, who I know works with her also, they knew what they were talking about. It was kind of a meeting of the minds here where we took their initial forms, which were very well drafted. It just required some tweaking.
Scripture in the Bible spelled T-Z-D-E-K. Okay, means righteousness or justice. I knew I had seen it. Before I went to Tzedek, nothing was really done the way it should have been done. But after going to them now, I feel free. I don't have any worries about it now. It's a lot of weight off me.
I love working at Tzedek because I feel like it's filled with moral beauty. All the advocates are quirky and smart and angry and passionate. Everyone is doing things that shows how much they care about other people.
Tonight, the Jack H. Skirball Community Justice Award will be presented by Tzedek Directing Attorney of Seniors, Dependent Adults, and Caregiver Services, Berta Sanchez Hayden.
Good evening, everyone, and thank you, Mayor Bass, for kicking off our celebration. Tzedek looks forward to continuing partnering with the City of Los Angeles to provide access to justice for all Angelinos. Tonight marks my 15th annual gala as a Tzedek staff member, and I'm going to share some behind-the-scenes insight on tonight's event. For Tzedek staff, our official kickoff to the gala begins when we receive an email in October inviting us to nominate a colleague for the Skirball Award. After 15 years, I have learned to complete my nomination vote as soon as it hits my inbox. You see, the extreme generosity of my colleagues extends to sharing their suggestions as to who should receive this award. Our version of Oscar campaigning without the swag. And this year, true to form, I received a team message, a call, and a text from my colleague, Kim Salfon, who kindly shared with me these words: Kim needs to win. Dominique needs to win this year. I would like to say that I kindly thank Kim for her suggestion and gracefully exited the call. But in truth, I replied, I know, I just voted for her. What have you heard? To which Kim responded, not much yet. And you know Dominique will hate us if we campaign for her. To which I responded, yes, too bad. You should know that for Tzedek staff, this award goes far beyond the professional recognition of the recipients' accomplishments for their clients. This award is our opportunity to say thank you to our colleagues who mentor us, who keep the mission of Tzedek's founders front and center of our work. So Dominique, I know you'd rather be stuck in a 10-hour deposition than come up on the stage right now, but there are a few things that you need to hear. Thank you for never accepting a case resolution as the end of an issue, but instead as an indicator of the work we must continue to do to promote the health, welfare, and dignity of vulnerable older adults. Thank you for pushing us to expand our vision of what elder law practice should include at a legal service agency. Thank you for mentoring us and patiently letting us debate a case strategy only to offer the ideal solution. And thank you for constantly asking, but what will happen to the clients afterwards, ensuring that every win equals a lasting positive outcome for our clients. Thank you for your friendship. I can't believe we've been working together for nearly 14 years. It's been incredible to witness your ideas bloom into new programs like the Elder Abuse Order Clinic, the Decedent's Estate Clinic, and now an estate planning practice. And it's especially incredible to be here with your family, your father, Max, your husband, Brandon, and daughter, Raven. And finally, thank you, Dominique, for your words of encouragement. When we come to your office and share the feelings of being overwhelmed with a potential outcome of a case, and you patiently listen and say, yeah, that's tough. Now go do your job. So heeding your wise words, it is my honor to present you with the Jack A. Skirball Community Justice Award.
Hi, everyone. Bertha, I appreciate that kind introduction and the many years of working alongside you. I also want to acknowledge all of my amazing Tzedek colleagues here tonight in streaming the event from home for honoring my work with the Skirball Award. And thank you, our family of supporters, for being here to support Tzedek and our clients. Life is getting prohibitively expensive, and very few of us have the money to hire a lawyer. Your financial support and your pro bono support show that you believe access to justice is for everyone, and that access to justice is vital to achieving social, racial, and economic equity. We all need advocates throughout our lives, especially when we become vulnerable for whatever reason. Your generosity and vision make quality legal advocacy possible for our clients through direct representation, impact litigation, policy initiatives, legal clinics, and legal education. Tzedek is able to fulfill our duty of collective responsibility and take care of our vulnerable communities. Your support allows us to help so many people just like Mrs. Walker, who are trying to plan for their future and make their kids' lives easier when they die. It may not seem at first like a big deal for Mrs. Walker to have received free estate planning services, but as you just heard, her family now won't have to pay the cost of probate to benefit from Mrs. Walker's legacy. They avoid emergencies if Mrs. Walker becomes incapacitated, and they avoid Medi-Cal making a claim on Mrs. Walker's home. And Mrs. Walker could not and should not have hired an attorney to help her. She receives less than $1,000 a month in Social Security. I spent that much money last month just on having the lice professionally removed from each strand of my family's hair. Living on that limited income is nearly impossible. In my practice alone, your support allows us to help people with so many different legal issues. Those who are on the verge of losing their homes to fraud or scammers, people trying to care for family with cognitive and developmental disabilities and avoid sending them to nursing homes, people trying to collect a small inheritance and can't afford to hire an attorney to get over the legal hurdles, and people with terminal illnesses who are planning for death. These examples are just a small fraction of the cases I see in the teams I'm on. I know a lot of you work with the other teams at Tzedek that focus on justice for workers, small business owners, tenants, unhoused people, children and families, and the transgender community. In conclusion, it might sound like I'm saying that Tzedek's clients are more deserving than your clients, and that my Tzedek colleagues are the best. I am definitely saying that, but I'm also saying thank you so much for being involved in caring about our clients, and for your mentorship, and for sharing your valuable resources with me and my colleagues. We're so grateful.
Please give a very warm welcome to Tzedek Board Chair Linda Michelson.
Good evening, and thank you for joining us tonight for our 2023 Tzedek Gala. I am so thrilled to be here with all of you. In 1976, just a few years after Tzedek's founders, Louise Leiner and Stan Levy, set up shop to provide free legal services, Justice Powell stated, "Equal justice under law is not merely a caption on the facade of the Supreme Court. It's perhaps the most inspiring ideal of our society. It is fundamental that justice should be the same in substance and availability without regard to economic status." In preparing for tonight, I wondered, what does justice mean to us, to Tzedek? Synonyms for justice include fairness, equity, decency, integrity, honesty. Well, each one of these words embodies Tzedek and our approach to serving our clients. It reflects the fact that Tzedek's mission to provide free legal services is critical, especially when the justice gap continues to widen. It is only through the efforts of organizations like Tzedek that our clients have that chance at justice in the legal system. Tzedek, the House of Justice, was founded because Stan and Luis believe passionately in the importance of justice without regard to economic status. I'd like to take this opportunity, like all of you have just done, to toast our founders for their vision. We are so fortunate to have both Stan and Luis here tonight, and at every board meeting, they continue to guide us with their wisdom. Thank you. My son runs cross country and track in high school, and every day I witness the importance of teamwork and not giving up. I see many of these young athletes falter when the meet doesn't go as planned and they don't yet know how to look to their teammates for support. At Tzedek, this is not possible. This work truly takes a team of dedicated and passionate Tzedek staff, 109 in total, enhanced by more than 1,000 volunteers and pro bono lawyers who donated more than 30,000 hours in 2022. And uplifted by all of you, our donors. So to start this evening, I too want to say thank you. Thank you for being here tonight. Thank you for serving. Thank you for volunteering. Thank you for your donations. And thank you for holding the same fundamental ideals held by Stan, Luis, and Justice Powell, and holding them so passionately in your support of Tzedek's mission. With your help in 2022, Tzedek served more than 85,000 individuals and families. Tzedek received over 12,000 calls for help and information through its call center, and Tzedek staff were on the front lines of policy changes by testifying, serving on ethics panels, and taking on the work that creates systemic change and improves the lives of thousands. Tzedek does not simply sit back and wait for those calls. Tzedek is in the community, meeting with clients and identifying prospective clients where they are, whether it's in partnering with the LA Unified School District to have our staff on site at schools to meet with children and families, or working with the City and County of Los Angeles on a county-wide legal network for small business owners that help their businesses thrive and ensure economic stability for their communities. Tzedek is embedded in the fabric of Los Angeles. Of course, none of this work would be possible without the financial support of the people in this room and our extraordinary family of other support. I'm particularly happy to give a special thanks to our top gala sponsors this evening, Laura Fox and Ben Vandebunt, David Schindler and Carol Johnson, the Jewish Federation of Los Angeles, Latham and Watkins, Dahlia and Art Bilger, Ken and Linda Millman, Davis Polk Wardwell, and O'Melveny and Myers. Thank you all. And a special thanks to our board of directors. If you're here tonight, please stand and be recognized. Our board gives tirelessly to support Tzedek with their guidance, their financial support, and the financial support of their firms and companies. And thank you to the dinner committee. It's because of your dedication to raising funds for the gala that our staff and the programs of Tzedek are funded. Last year, if you were here, you may recall David Schindler, our former board chair and tonight's Louise Leiner Founders Award recipient, told us what his mother and grandmother would have said had she been here. And tonight, let me tell you about my father, a gentleman from a small village in Sicily. Although he grew up without much, he always talked about his mother, who would literally open their door and take food off their table to help those in need. And so, if he were here tonight, he would say, "I'm so proud of you for what you have done, but can you do more?" I started tonight with thank you, and I will close with a challenge. Can we do more? The need is great and growing. We have 9 months left in this year to do more. If you're an attorney, how many more pro bono hours can you give? If you haven't made a donation, will you? If you have, can you give more? This is the moment when we officially launch our Text to Give campaign, and this is the easiest and most immediate way you can ensure Tzedek will continue to be there to be able to respond to those who need us most. If we raise $125,000 tonight, we can cover the full cost of one attorney. If we raise $250,000, we can cover 2. So please, please take out your phones and help us get there. Text BT Justice to 4144, it's on the screen, and whatever you can give will help us ensure that our clients, the elderly, children, families, workers, small business owners, tenants, and homeowners all have a chance. With your help, we can make this the most successful gala in our history, and this next year our most impactful. If you have any issues, we have volunteers walking around and they can help you. As Martin Luther King Jr. said, the time is always right to do what is right. Thank you, and have a good evening.
Hi, my name is Susan Belgrave, and I'm the Senior Director of Senior and Multi-Purpose Centers at Jewish Family Service LA. Each year, our compassionate staff provides quality care to tens of thousands of clients, regardless of race, ethnicity, religion, gender preference, or sexual orientation. We provide mental health services, we feed the hungry, we provide services for older adults, as well as Holocaust survivors, and we counsel children and their families. We are so proud to partner with Tzedek so our clients can have equal access under the law. Please make a gift tonight to Tzedek by texting BT Justice to 41444 or scanning the QR code located on your tables to support this vital work for our communities. Thank you.
Presenting the Rose L. Schiff Commitment to Justice Award, please welcome to the stage Hana Sakaue.
Good evening. I'm Hana Sakaue, Tani Cantil Sakaue's eldest daughter. Tonight, I want to share how my mom, Tani Cantil Sakaue's daily actions influence me to act thoughtfully and intentionally, no matter how small the habit or task. Sometimes I'll join my mom on her daily walks with Abe, who is our 80-pound white standard poodle. And whenever my mom sees someone walking towards us on the sidewalk, she will always cross the street and walk on the opposite sidewalk to give that person more space to walk forward comfortably. Or, no matter how tired she is from work or from travel, she will always maintain her daily routine to work out to help with her physical and mental well-being. I remember when we went to Japan, we had a restless 12-hour flight, plus the 16-hour time difference. By the time we got to our hotel, she was getting ready to go to the gym. She never explicitly says, when walking Abe, you should be conscious of the other walkers, or how important it is to maintain a routine even when you may not feel like it. Observing some of my mom's small habits at home makes me more conscious of my actions. Am I being thoughtful to others? Am I acting in my best interest even when I may not feel like doing it? While my mom doesn't influence me as much as she did when I was younger, she always continues to be an advisor in my life. Now, I am very excited to share with you this short video that the creative team at Working Nation produced about my mom.
I figured I had nothing to lose in my interview with Governor Schwarzenegger for the Chief Justice because his first question is, how do you pronounce my name? And I say, how do you pronounce mine? And we laugh, and I was about to leave, and I heard running behind me, and it was the governor, who didn't so much ask me as say, you are my chief. And I said, yes, as if that was a question. So that's how it happened. I didn't think about what I wanted to be when I grew up. I went to Catholic school, and I really thought, oh, I could be a nun. This is the 60s, and there was no internet. You had to buy the Encyclopedia Britannica, and our family was so poor, we only bought up to G, so we didn't know what else was happening in the rest of the world after G. My parents always said you need to have an education, and that was a city college. That changed everything. Being at a community college with people who are seeking a second chance, a new life, people who are looking for a job promotion, people who are raising a family. That's such a different environment than high school, and I loved that. I joined the speech and debate team. I competed against men, and I would beat them. When they would tell me that they were going to law school, I'm thinking, well, I could probably go to law school. My first job out of law school, they handed me a file, and I said, where do I go? I had never seen a courtroom. I'd never been in a courtroom. I asked the judge, where do I stand? Where do I sit? This is my first trial. I was in the district attorney's office for about 4.5 years. I tried every kind of case, and I heard that the governor's office was looking for an attorney with a trial background. The experience turned out to be life-altering. Governor Duke Majan appointed me a judge when I was 30. There were very few women judges, maybe 2 or 3. So I just didn't think I would ascend to that, and I never really even aspired to ascend to it. I don't remember my first case, but I was doing night traffic. Nighttime traffic. People are angry in traffic, let alone at nighttime. That led me to more responsibility. And then pretty soon, another governor elevated me to the Superior Court. I had a court reporter assigned to me who had been with me for a long time, and we're a family, we are a team. One day I'm getting ready to go to court, and as soon as I'm in chambers, the police department next door keeps calling me saying, we have a woman in homicide, she won't talk to anyone but you. And so I rush over to the homicide unit. She was in her pajamas, and she was crying, and her eyes were swollen, and then a light bulb goes off in my head because it's my court reporter. She told her husband she was leaving him that morning, and they fought physically, and then he shot each child in front of her eyes, and then he shot himself. To this day, it's just, I relive all of it. It changes your life forever. And you don't come to terms with it, time passes. Soon thereafter, the district attorney's office sought to create a domestic violence court, the first of its kind in Sacramento, and I agreed to preside. And it turned out to be the busiest court in all of Sacramento in its history, just hundreds of cases. And when you preside over a court like that, you get to know families and children, and there's love there. And there's a relationship that needs fixing, and that's a court where you can do good for a family in the long run. I was in line on a weekend, and a woman came up to me and leaned into my ear, and she said, "He doesn't hit me anymore. Thank you." She just came in and whispered it to me, and she was gone. For all those cases and all those families, it was worth it to hear that. Doing that work in domestic violence, I think it just made me a better human and therefore a better judge. For me, to be named Chief Justice was an awesome responsibility. I just Never thought I'd be seen in that way.
Hail to the chief.
You know, I started out my career as a minority woman deputy district attorney, and I was always the only woman and generally the only person of color in the courtroom. And I was new and different, and the male dominated the legal profession in the 80s. As Chief Justice of California, I really stressed access to justice. That is, everyone has to have access to it, or justice means nothing. Access means making sure people can get to courts, don't have to give up a day wage, don't have to pay it on transportation. So it meant remote access as well, but always it meant equal access. Doing the work of the court felt so correct, and the battle was righteous, and we created a new era in many ways, I think, going forward for the judicial branch. And so when it came time to think about leaving it, I wanted to bring data and facts to people so that people can make better policy. I have been 32 years on the back end of laws that didn't quite accomplish what they intended to accomplish, policies that were well-meaning but not quite fully informed. Now, as the president of PPIC, it's an opportunity to be on the front end to provide objective information to inform, amplify, clarify policy to make California's policy better for all Californians.
Now, I'd like to welcome this year's candidate for the Rose L. Schiff Justice Award to my mom, Tani Cantil Sakaue.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. To you. To all of you, what you do for the community, priceless, priceless. Thank you, thank you. To Tzedek, to the board, to Diego, to the community partners, to the advisory board, thank you so much for this tremendous honor. To accept the Rose L. Schiff Award is to join a pantheon of distinguished leaders in this state, including my good friend and advisor, retired Judge Terry Friedman, who we worked together in the early years of when I was chief, many dinners, many discussions, much help to the judiciary, and to so many of you here, including Diego and Jesse, how much Tzedek has meant in the hearts of people. You know, being at the top of the judiciary, we get a view of the true heroes. And Tzedek is part of the true hero worship in California, so deservedly so. It is an honor to be here and to accept this award. I also want to thank my daughter, my eldest daughter, Hannah. I wasn't sure what she would say, and I didn't want to know ahead of time, because as I said to someone, we lawyers, judges, we're all editors at heart, and I just didn't want to sit across from the desk and have that same discussion that I have with my lawyers with her. And I'm also glad she didn't tell the story of what I used to call the not participating in full service, full gear attitude, like the time when I took them to McDonald's, took out the hamburger, meat in the burger, and slapped the two pieces of bread together and said to them, "This is what a half-blank job looks like." And I said, I've denied that, but it does sound like me. So I'm grateful to Hannah for her remarks, and I always say when she doesn't want to hear me, people would pay money for this. I'm a life coach. But I do want to say that in acceptance of this award, what comes to mind to me is my grandfather, who many decades ago stepped off a ship to land and set foot in San Francisco, having just come from Hawaii, having served multiple years as a farm laborer, for the privilege of getting passage to California to be a farm laborer in California with his wife and kids along the way. And when I think of how he stepped off the ship and into San Francisco, I like to think that maybe could he have imagined that a few blocks away his granddaughter would be the Chief Justice of California. And knowing my grandfather and my family, they would likely not be impressed by that. But what they would be impressed by is this room full of distinguished lawyers, judges, professionals who give to Tzedek, the House of Justice, the beneficial judicial philanthropy that changes generations, not just lives, but generations, who give people the hope and the stability and the access to justice that is their right, except the access part is so difficult. All the laws that are passed, all the rights that are available mean nothing unless these people have a conduit from you, by you, through the professionals and the staff and the lawyers at Tzedek to make that real. And I speak from, I'd like to think, a place of knowledge. When my family was evicted from our home back when I was approximately 9 years old, because who knew we lived in blight? You know, we lived where we lived. It happened to be an alley in downtown Sacramento next to a brothel, but it felt at the time completely safe. Government, whoever they were, apparently didn't think so and moved us out of our home. But my mother, pro se, went to court to fight, and she lost, and she came home. The biggest part of that was not that she lost. I mean, fighting eminent domain, we look back on that and it's like, good luck. But actually, what the worst part of it was to see such a proud woman dejected. And she wasn't dejected because she lost. She was dejected because of how she was treated. She was a farm worker. She slept in camps and graduated finally from a high school in one small county because they picked crops. Losing was something she understood, but the disrespect was something that was new and foreign and humiliating. And what I took away as a 9-year-old to this day is the disrespect and the lack of dignity of how people are treated when they attempt to enforce their rights. So when I think of the House of Justice in Tzedek, and I've listened to the attorneys, when I've seen the Dominique and I've seen David and the awards and what all of you stand for, and you talk about and you really walk the walk of judicial and legal philanthropy, it changes lives. And so this award that I accept is on behalf of all the Judicial Council members and judges and lawyers who, like you, collectively raise our voices to reform justice. And so I accept this award on their behalf, on all of your behalf, with great pride for what you do and how you are changing generations. Thank you for this.
Hello, my name is Madden Lopez, and I'm the Executive Director and founder of Project Q Salon Community Center. At Project Q, we supply queer youth of color experiencing homelessness with mentorship, haircuts, and a way to experience their future. We are so thrilled to partner with Tzedek Transgender Legal Project to make sure that our youth and clients have access to equal housing, healthcare, and jobs. Please make a gift today by texting BT Justice to 41444 or scan the QR code on your table to help us do this vital work for the trans community.
We are excited to bring to the stage Tzedek President and CEO Diego Cartagena.
All right. Well, good evening, everyone. I'm going to ask for a little bit of a favor because I've been stopping by at different tables to say hello to folks. So if you can't hear me in the back, let me know. Thank you, everyone, and let me say what a pleasure it is to be with you all tonight. You know, I was thinking recently about how things have started to feel normal again, with people back in the office and more meetings happening in person, and we're all gathered here together with just a few masks out in the audience. And I was thinking about this when one of my colleagues told me about a husband and wife that we are helping at Tzedek. The wife had to cut her hours at work to care for her husband after the state had denied them the funds necessary for them to have an in-home caregiver for her husband. The couple was now struggling to pay their rent and was facing homelessness. Hearing about this couple, I was reminded of what passes as normal for the people that we serve. What's normal is if you are over 65, you are probably one of 740,000 community members in LA County who doesn't have enough money to meet your basic needs. Normal is working for a scofflaw employer, one of many who in the aggregate steal about $28 million worth of wages every week in Los Angeles. Normal is 70,000 people sleeping on the streets most nights, and 5 unsheltered individuals dying each night. 740,000, $28 million, 70,000. These are big numbers, and indeed 5 might sound small compared to the rest. But this isn't about numbers. It's about our community members, and in particular, the mothers, sisters, and people of color who are disproportionately impacted by the issues that Tzedek tackles every day. And let me remind you that too often, it is about life and death. That was a situation years ago when an older individual asked Tzedek for help with an eviction case. He hadn't been properly served, but his case had moved on to a default, and he was facing a lockout. We filed emergency paperwork that set aside the case, but it was too late. The client had been locked out on a cold, rainy night, the kind we have experienced recently. This elderly, frail man had slept in his car that evening, and he had passed away. The law was on his side, and had he connected with a lawyer earlier, I am convinced he'd still be with us today. This doesn't have to be normal. It doesn't have to happen again. And we are changing this and making Los Angeles very different. That's because tonight, there is hope in this room. And I am not talking about hope as an aspiration. I am talking about hope as a tangible force in our community. In fact, tonight, you're going to meet hope. My colleagues, the staff of Tzedek, I'd like you to please take a moment to stand. If you're a member of Tzedek staff, please stand. Folks, this is hope personified by passionate advocates who every day help Angelenos realize a better tomorrow. Now turn to the people sitting at your table. You are looking into the face of hope. Each of you has the power to make every single day moving forward different for all Angelenos we serve. You create hope by giving and ensuring there are advocates on our team who can fight to prevent unlawful evictions. Your generosity last year allowed us to help nearly 5,000 household members facing housing issues. You create hope by volunteering. Last year, you helped nearly 1,000 workers reclaim over $2 million in wages owed to them. And you create hope by partnering with us to bring structural change through new laws. That's what happened in the case of the couple I mentioned earlier. Your support not only allowed our caregiver team to advocate and make sure that the couple was receiving the benefits they were entitled to, you helped the team get a law passed that made it easier for couples like them to qualify for the benefits in the first place. Now, clearly there is more work to be done, and we cannot let hope sit there, a mere aspiration. We must work audaciously every day to make hope real and bring about this change. So tonight, we ask you to renew your commitment to changing those dire numbers I rattled off earlier by throwing out some numbers of your own. If you haven't given yet, or as Linda urged you earlier, even if you've already given, please give through our Text to Give campaign. The dollars you give, those numbers add up. And as we get closer to, and in fact, did we already move past 125? But you know what that means, I haven't had a chance to take a look at the numbers up there. It looks like we did. Thank you. That is incredible. Thank you, everyone, for your generosity. But as we get closer now to 250,000, that means that another attorney can be on staff, bringing change and hope to our community. So we ask you to please take out your phone and text BT Justice to 41444 and add some additional hope for our client communities. Thank you so much, everyone. We really appreciate your support, and have a good evening.
Presenting tonight's Louise Liner Founders Award, please welcome Nikki Schindler.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Nikki Schindler, and it is an honor for me to introduce my dad, David Schindler, as the 2023 recipient of the Louise Liner's Founders Award. I am my dad's favorite and only daughter. And when my dad asked me to introduce him for this award, my first thought was, am I really the right child for the job? I am a pre-med student who spends her Saturday nights on the quiet floor of the library. And for those of you who don't know, I have one sibling, a younger brother, who is the president of his a cappella group in college and regularly performs in front of hundreds of people. And it turns out he was the top pick for tonight, but unfortunately he's out of the country. So bear with me because I was the only option. My dad has had a huge impact on me wanting to become a doctor. Not because he is one. He probably thinks that aorta and vena cava are the names of Tuscan vineyards. But my dad has made caring for others a pillar of my upbringing. My dad never had to tell me about the importance of service to others. And not for a lack of words, because as you'll soon hear, my father, the attorney, loves to talk. But for 25 years, I've watched my dad give selflessly to so many. I've never seen him turn down a friend in need. He'll take your call, even if he's in the middle of a deposition in Kazakhstan. He believes deeply in the work being done at Tzedek, and he's served here for more than 25 years as a volunteer and most recently as board chair. If you want to know what kind of person my dad is, every single night when we were kids, my dad would make up some elaborate bedtime story to tell to my brother when he would tuck him in. And then he would come into my room and tell me my own completely different story every single night for probably 12 years. My dad is a walking testament to what it means to always show up. There's always time for the people and things that matter to him. I've asked my dad how he learned the importance of helping others. He credits the community in which he was raised. The values that were imbued in him in the Jewish Beverlywood community were those of empathy, of teaching, of helping others reach their potential, and doing all of that in a no-strings-attached way. Passing along those values, whether it be to his friends or his kids or the young associates he mentors, has always been the most important part of what my dad hopes to be his legacy one day. For those of you who don't remember your high school calculus, I know my dad definitely does not. An integral represents the sum of infinite small parts. The things that are most impressive to me about my dad's career and who he is are not the awards or the high-profile cases, though there have been many and they are impressive. It is the sum of the infinite small but significant things my dad has done that have amounted to the steady and constant force he is in the lives of so many. If you ask my dad about his career, which I did, he'll tell you he feels like an average person who just contributed in whatever ways he could. So let that be a testament to the impact that any of us can make, or all of us can make together, just by contributing in whatever ways we can, no matter the size or perceived significance. And let it be food for your soul, as my dad would say. I want to thank Tzedek for giving my dad the opportunity to feed his soul for so long. This organization stands as a role model for how individual hours of work can sum to significant justice for so many. So with that, we would like to direct your attention to a short video about my dad.
Of everything that my dad has taught me and all the values that I've learned from him, being empathetic is definitely number one.
So all these stories here, Mother, did you keep all these along the way?
Well, I sure did. Nobody else did. I remember one time you were trying to pull the little cat's tail. He was fairly young, probably 8 or 9. So I told them, treat the cat gently. You don't want to be pulled, to make him realize that the way you treat others is the way you want to be treated.
Just slices? How thick? The first time I met David, it was on a blind date, and when I met him, I thought this guy could be a really wonderful friend in my life, and then later, of course, the romance came. David's fabric, his essence, is helping people. He literally goes through his life thinking, how can I make their days better?
So David and I have a bit of a memory rumble about whether we met in 2nd or 4th grade. Even back then, David had a fiercely loyal streak, which has meant that if you're in his family, or you're a friend, or a mentee, or a nonprofit he's committed to, say, Tzedek, that he's going to do whatever it takes to support you.
I think people often think that when you're involved in any charitable organization, that it's really about what you give to the organization, and that's only half the story. For me, the joy and the pride being amongst an incredible group of lawyers who are all devoted to the same cause, to help those less fortunate, and let's do it together. I've been lucky enough over the last 24 years to always be part of the swearing-in ceremony for all the new lawyers at Latham. And part of my stump speech is, look, being a lawyer at a private law firm has a number of benefits, but it also has some obligations. And in order to really be a happy lawyer, you got to continue to do the things that excite you in your personal life, but you also got to give back.
I first met David as a summer associate in 2001, where the aura of David Schindler was already well formed within the firm because he was so highly regarded both as a lawyer and as a mentor for young lawyers.
I walked into his office, and rather than talk immediately about that commercial matter, he wanted to get to know me a little bit. What types of issues matter to you? What's important? And as a result of my conversations with David, I made a commitment that I would engage in significant pro bono matters that affect the Muslim American community in the United States.
If you can help somebody else appreciate the value of helping somebody get help, you watch the light bulb click for them, the smile on their face, and that sense of this really is as good as everybody says it's going to be. That's the magic moment.
I think David's biggest accomplishment in the pro bono area is developing a culture of pro bono at Latham & Watkins. You know, we've had the equivalent of 30, 40 lawyers working full-time just in LA.
Yeah, 2020 was an interesting time. Diego had just become CEO of the organization. I had just taken over the mantle as board chair, and lo and behold, the world came to a crashing halt.
David was really a shoulder that we could lean on when we were trying to think through some very complicated logistical issues, like how to make sure that people could still access all of the services that we had.
We look back and say that we were able to serve double the number of people in 2020 and 2021 that we did in 2019. That's an incredible statistic.
Are you guys virtual?
You could bring a problem, and he has this great ability to ask you questions in response and sort of guide you to an answer and help you understand why the answer that you've reached makes sense, and in the process helps build your confidence up so that you can then go on and lead as well.
I've often said that Tzedek is that rapid alert, rapid action team that can be anywhere, anytime, on a dime. What made us so special is we saw a need and we could go meet that need in days, not in weeks or months or years, because these people needed help immediately. And that's what Tzedek has grown into. It's grown into an organization that's big enough to serve 100,000 people, but nimble enough to pivot on a heartbeat in order to meet some new need that surfaces, and every year something new shows up.
So it's with a lot of pride, admiration, and love that I'd like to introduce my dad, David Schindler, to accept the Louise Leiner Founders Award. Thank you.
I'm probably going to drive the teleprompter folks crazy because I'm going to go off script a little bit. First, as you can see, the apple is way better than the tree in this family. My wife and I got hit with a lucky stick the day that Nikki came into our lives. And before I turn to what I promised will be relatively short remarks about this award, I want to congratulate the other honorees, Dominique's sons, David, and her honor, Justice Sakaue. Although it is particularly daunting to be following the Chief Justice of the California Supreme Court. It's a little bit like following up the Rolling Stones or Rihanna with the Carpenters. And let me just ask, raise your hand if you would vote for her for President of the United States. So, Your Honor, I'm sorry. Next stop, politics for you. Now, it's humbling to be accepting an award that bears the name of Louise Leiner. And I'll let you all in on a secret. I don't really deserve the award. I think of that award as something that should go to a superhero. Someone like Louise, someone whose vision and dedication paved the way for an organization that serves nearly 100,000 people each year. And in fact, when I look around the room, and I know so many of you, I see dozens of people who fit the bill of superheroes for the work they do on a daily basis. Not just for Tzedek, but with myriad organizations around the country. Rather than getting honored, I should be thanking the organization. Because looking back on the past 23 years, I know that I received far more from the clients I've represented, the associates I partnered with who took on Tzedek cases, and the colleagues on the board with whom I've served. That's one of the secrets of this organization. You get back more than you give, because there's a real special psychic joy in stepping into the breach for someone who can't defend themselves. Now, 23 years ago, my friend and former Tzedek executive director, David Lash, suggested I join the board. I had just come out of government service, had joined Latham & Watkins, and didn't really think I had much to offer to a pro bono legal services organization. But I remembered an experience from my childhood that has stayed with me all my life. And it's a seemingly unremarkable story that I've never shared with anyone. But looking back now, I know that it has a lot to do with why I became part of Tzedek. Now, I don't recall exactly how old I was, somewhere between 10 and 14. And I was on my way to the dentist. I had just gotten onto an elevator with two other people, an older man dressed in a suit and a fairly short middle-aged woman. Now, the elevator stopped at the second floor, and when the doors opened, there were two Hispanic workers who were trying to board the elevator. They were looking to move a desk to a higher floor. And since there were already three of us on the elevator, it was a struggle. And the desk was fairly large and unruly, and they were really having a tough time. Now, the older man on the elevator was clearly getting angry at this unplanned delay. And after about a minute, he started to yell at the workers, who did not appear to speak English. The older man berated the two workers for speaking Spanish, and then he accused them of being in the country illegally, at which point he literally demanded to see the workers' green cards. Now, I was feeling really bad for the two workers, who were clearly just trying to do their job, but I was a young kid, and I didn't know what to do. And at that point, out of nowhere, that middle-aged woman intervened. She was pretty short, but she stepped between the workers and the older man, and in a calm but very determined voice said, "You want to see a green card? I'll show you my green card. And what are you going to do then? Leave these poor men alone. They've done nothing to you, and you have no business insulting them." And then she turned to the two workers and reassured them in perfect Spanish. At that point, the older guy stormed off the elevator, which of course made it easier for the rest of us to get on the elevator and go. So I got off on the 9th floor, went to see my dentist, and while I've never spoken about that incident to anyone, that 2-minute encounter has lurked in the background of my psyche for the past 50 years. And I remain blown away by that diminutive woman stepping into the breach for these two workers who were being bullied and abused, in large part, solely because they were Hispanic. It often serves as a simple reminder of the importance of taking up the cause for those who cannot defend themselves. And in many respects, that woman on the elevator embodied the principles that drive Tzedek, providing justice for all. Now, I'm grateful for the kind words that others have said about me tonight, but in truth, I credit my family and my friends for making me the person I am today. Like Her Honor, I'm a first-generation American, and like Her Honor, my parents were fresh off the boat, as someone said to me tonight. My father was a Holocaust refugee from Germany, and my mother's family left Hungary in the 1920s in the midst of growing anti-Semitism directed at Hungarian Jews, and they ultimately settled in Mexico. And my parents taught me and my siblings the importance of the golden rule, of treating others as you would like to be treated. It is something my mother still preaches after nearly 94 years. And it's no surprise that my brother Eric runs an amazing nonprofit in Arizona that addresses unmet gaps in social services for families, or that my sister Sandra is a clinical social worker helping cancer patients and their families cope with life. They are just two of the heroes in this room. Now, I was also very lucky to grow up with a phenomenal group of friends who reinforced the importance of caring for others. In fact, I remain eternally grateful to that crew from Castle Heights Elementary, Palms Junior High, and Hamilton High, many of whom are here tonight and showed up with the Hamilton High t-shirt from 1979. Now, I'm grateful to them not just for their friendship, but really for the examples each of them set for me through their own commitments to the greater good. Now, Stan Levy, our other Bet Tzedek founder, is fond of quoting Muhammad Ali, who said that service to others is the rent you pay for your room here on earth. And I've often thought about that expression in the context of the obligation that lawyers at private firms have to give back to the community. And part of why I joined Latham & Watkins 24 years ago was because of the firm's commitment to providing pro bono legal services and to giving back to the community. It's really special to practice law with a very large group of mensches. To my partners and associates, many of who turned out in force tonight and who opened their wallets to support Bet Tzedek, I'm incredibly grateful to each of you. Not just for your support here tonight, but for your tremendous friendship and camaraderie over the past 24 years. I know how lucky I was to have landed at Latham. But it's not just Latham. There are so many lawyers and other professionals in this room, from companies and firms of many sizes, who dedicate their time and money to Bet Tzedek and other causes, all in service of the simple concept that the short woman on the elevator stood for 50 years ago, defending those in need, those who can't defend themselves. So to my friends at all the law firms in this room, big, medium, and small, thank you for being here, and thank you for all that you do for Bet Tzedek. Now, many of you who are not lawyers opened your wallets tonight to support an organization you may not have known much about. And I want to thank in particular the Fox Family Foundation, to the Saratine Foundation, to Team VCA, to the Harvard Business School crew, to Carol's Book Club, to everyone from Hamilton High, and my former colleagues at the U.S. Attorney's Office, to my colleagues on the Bet Tzedek board. Tonight is incredible because of you. And finally, I want to thank my family for turning out to support me tonight and to support the organization. From my brother Eric and my sister-in-law Andrea, who flew in here from Arizona via Charlotte, North Carolina, to my sister Sandy and my brother-in-law Jerry, who came from the Bay Area, tonight would not have been complete without you. To my daughter Nikki, whose quick wit and humor is surpassed only by her empathy and her incredible devotion to others. And my son Alex, who you saw for a second on the video, but who is traipsing through Europe as I speak, whose positive energy lights up every room. My wife and I thank our stars each day that we were blessed with such wonderful kids. To my wife, partner, and best friend Carol, who makes every day more fun and who supports me in everything I do, this event would never have been as successful as it has been, but for all your outreach, your arm twisting, and your incredible generosity. I love you and only hope I can do the same for you one day, although I know you'll kill me if I do. Now, finally, there's one other person who came tonight that I want to thank. You remember that short, middle-aged woman from the elevator? The one who wasn't afraid to stare down racism and to stand up for immigrant workers? Well, she's here tonight. And she likely doesn't remember that incident. Now, most of you call her Catherine. Some of you refer to her as Wita. But I just call her Mom. And she's almost 94, and she's still going strong. she's still sticking up for people who can't defend themselves. She's always the one talking to the workers where she lives, helping them with whatever problems they have. And Mother, everything I learned about empathy, I learned from you. And whatever commitment to confronting injustice on behalf of others, I got that from you too. And I promise I have never pulled another cat's tail since the day you told me not to. Now, the other thing my mother taught me is don't talk too long. Especially when you are the only thing standing between the after party and the valet line. So let me just say thank you to all of you. I'm humbled and I'm grateful and I'm so proud to be the recipient of the Louise Liner Award. Thank you.
Please welcome to the stage Beit Tzedek board members Samantha Millman and Sean Jaquez.
Well, folks, it's the end. We have come to the end of tonight's program, and what an evening it has been. We want to take this final opportunity to applaud each of our honorees and to thank all of you for joining us tonight and supporting Beit Tzedek's mission year-round.
We also want to extend a special thank you to the Beit Tzedek attorneys and staff. Without you, this celebration would not exist. You have inspired us to always be good and to do good for each other, a message that is as important today as it ever has been.
And now let's talk money. With your help through tonight's Text to Give campaign and with the donations made tonight, we have raised $2,478,000.92. And we want to emphasize so far because we're not done yet. Please continue to share the link with your family, your friends, your colleagues, and let's keep the momentum going on this very important campaign.
We already said it. Well, I think we've already said the whole amount. So of that, the Text to Give was $130,000. So congratulations to all of you tonight on that one.
And I ruined Sean's joke. I apologize. Thank you so much for coming. There is an after party tonight for BTNLC for those who want to burn the midnight oil or aren't quite ready to relieve your babysitter. The Beit Tzedek New Leadership Council has an after party upstairs. Please join them, have a drink, get a little inebriated, text a little more money, and keep the momentum going tonight.
And we invite all of you back here again next year so you can see how your generosity has been put to good use. As we celebrate 50 years of impact in Los Angeles, that's right, 50, it's gonna be amazing. So with that, we say, have a happy Passover if you're celebrating tomorrow, or happy Easter if you're celebrating over the weekend. And thank you, and have a fantastic and safe evening.
Thanks.